and welcome to almost done with week 3. Originally, I was gonna film this video on Monday, but things just the week went out of hand, so here we are on a Thursday. But in my previous classes, especially when the lockdown was happening, I used to record like a weekly announcements, updates, highlights kind of thing for each of my classes. So I figured I don't know how I fell off of the bandwagon doing that, but I'm going to start back. So each week on Monday, starting next Monday, I will do a little bit of brief updates and remind you of assignments that are coming up and shout out some of the discussion board posts that I found that were really interesting. And I'm always going to be a bit behind for the weekly discussion. So we're going back to week 1. So for announcements, there's nothing too heavy. You do have coming up on October the 2nd, which is not too far away, the comparison of collection development policies. The directions are pretty straightforward. It's relatively easy to, or should be relatively easy to find 2 collection policies. I kind of Google for them all the time just because I'm curious and nosy. So just follow the directions and you shouldn't have a problem. You can use either MLA, APA, Chicago. I tend to default to APA just because it's what was burned into my brain during the doctoral program, but you are welcome to use whatever as long as it's consistent throughout your assignments. Sorry, my cat really loves the limelight. Let's see, any other announcements? We are finishing up week 3, which is collection development policies and users. So perfect time for talking about all the different collection policies out there, and also talking about diverse books, doing better. The Dawn Betts Green, who I actually went to doctoral school with her, or went through the doctoral program with her, or them. So very excited that we were reading this work. And hopefully you got to, I know we have quite a bit of readings, but hopefully you made it through all of them or doing the best you can. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know this class might seem a little overwhelming. It is for me. It's my first time teaching it. I've co-taught it twice, but this is the first time I've taught it over the whole semester and all by myself. So it's an experience for all of us. So please, if you have any constructive feedback, please let me know. I'm welcome to hear it. So thank you for being so responsive with the discussion board posts. I really appreciate that. I know it can get a bit, I don't know if tedious is the right word, but it's a word. Writing discussion board posts every week, but we're a little bit confined with asynchronous courses. That's one of few ways in which we can engage with one another. I hope at least the prompts are a little bit engaging. And I noticed you all talking back and forth with each other and also sharing resources, which is great for me because I'm always learning more from you all, because I haven't been out in the field in quite a while. Again, my background is in public libraries, specifically in young adult services, or young adult, librarianship. So I am all over the place. I had planned for this to be, I'm still getting my bearings with recording myself again and going through everything that we need. So, okay. Sorry for the background noise. During the daytime, my street is a little active, for lack of a better word. So, from week 1, I highlighted, I'm going to shout out a couple of people who I thought their discussion board posts were really interesting. So first off, Margaret Dabb, hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. She spoke about working in a public library and talking about renewals on Libby counting as checkouts. The whole ebook situation is really fascinating. I know we've done quite a bit of reading about how it's really, especially as a result of the pandemic, a lot of e-resources have really seen a huge uptick. But it's a little bit difficult as well because we run into the amount of money that we have to pay for ebooks or subscriptions or anything like that, and how some of the publishers are a little bit have a little bit more power than they should over like our amount of checkouts, and we only have a certain amount of checkout limit with the ebooks, kind of like physical books, but in a different concept. I did like how you. Let's see, I'm reading your post right now. Yeah, it's really fantastic that we have so much digital abilities within the libraries, academic libraries, public libraries, school libraries, because it does make it much easier for people to, it makes it easier for me to do research because I can just access everything through a database. So digital collections really does remove some barriers, as you suggest, Margaret. Thank you. And Addison, Jacques, it's a beautiful last name. And you work in a public library. I have a soft spot again for public libraries. And yeah, it's very true. Meeting the needs of your community, of the community that your public library serves, should be really forefront in your brain when you're doing collection development, collection management, and really everything that goes into a library. Weeding low circulation, outdated materials. Yes, because of this, we rely heavily on the collections of our largest branches. So yeah, we'll talk about weeding a little bit later on in the semester, but weeding is one of my favorite things to do in the library. I don't know why. There's some kind of decluttering aspect of it that I like. Just getting rid of stuff is very therapeutic, I suppose. The difficulty comes in when the public's understanding of weeding, naturally they don't have the vocabulary that we have or the knowledge that we have about weeding and what goes into it and why some books maybe thrown in the trash or put on Friends of the Library book sale card or something like that. So in the past, I haven't seen one recently, but I know every so often there will be an outcry from somebody in the community. I'll see it somewhere in a newspaper online that they'll see books in the dumpster behind the library, and how could they throw away books? So it's that difficult idea of how to educate the public, which can be difficult when you're talking about something like weeding, but it is important that we express to the public why we do the things we do in our library to a certain extent, because we definitely don't want to just hold on to materials forever, because that's not the purpose of a public library, or certainly not any library, really. Yes, so great job, Addison. Frankie Newcomb, thank you. They mentioned about digital resources and the internet have altered the definition of a collection. Yeah, a collection really means a lot of different things. It doesn't mean what it, if you go back to the first and second chapter of the our textbook for this course, they had, obviously, back in the 18th and 19th century, had a very different idea of what a library entails. So it's kind of fascinating how far the word collection can roam. Yeah, and Elsevier is always a fascinating corporation, I guess, for a company, lack of a better term, to investigate, because there's been some pushback from libraries. I believe it was maybe a year ago, and University of California, or some of the universities in California, were just not going to use Elsevier anymore because of how expensive it was to purchase database or acquire databases through them, require e-materials. Yes. Oh, and thank you for example. Sorry, I'm reading this as I've read it before, but a refresher. The Atlanta University Center Robert W. Woodworth Library, repository of information resources, including an extensive archive of African American experience. Oh, so thank you for if you haven't checked this out, this link, please do. And yeah, it definitely helps underrepresented communities. I know here in Milwaukee, I have a friend and colleague who they are the co-founders of it's called QZAP, Queer Zine Archive Project. And if you're interested in it, I'll post more, but essentially it is what it kind of sounds like. It's a archive of queer zines from all over the country, all over the world, all kinds of different topics, as long as they fall within the LGBTQ queer realm, they collect them. And I've been to their archive. It's a very small archive. It's not a private archive, I would call it. It's just it's a small archive, but it's always a really fascinating place to go to, because you just learn so much about communities you're a part of, or communities you're not really familiar with, or it's just really neat. So QZAP is really fascinating and definitely preserves its community's history, or doing its best to. Let's see. Okay, I have one more. Megan Livingston. Yeah, I think another discussion about collection based on format. Yeah, the internet has really opened things up, and I do a lot of research into accessibility, particularly focusing on disabilities and library accessibility for those who live with disabilities. So anytime I hear the word accessible in regards to libraries, it really makes me happy. So it is an accessible encyclopedia. I know in the past, I feel like this was when I was an undergrad. Yes. We couldn't use Wikipedia as a resource, or yes, no, like one of our research papers or something like that. I think times have changed. I mean, I've accepted Wikipedia because it's a kind of a living, it is a living encyclopedia, and even in print encyclopedias would go out of date and practically by the time they were published. So who's to say which is better? We all have some people have certain opinions on Wikipedia. I think it's a really fascinating tool, as long as you use it mindfully. Yes, there's so many things we need to do mindfully. Let's see. Preservation is part of the mission of the libraries. I was struck by that, because preservation is an area, honestly, I do not know as much about as I should. It's just not an area of librarianship or LIS that I've really done some research into. Yes, and I agree. Much of the concern for the preservation of digital resources is accessibility, which continues to be a struggle, as monetizing as much digital content as possible continues to remain prevalent. Yeah, there's a lot that we'll go through throughout this course. I hope the readings are helpful, and the textbook, although I know it was published in 2018, the problem with textbooks, much like encyclopedias, they are essentially out of date as soon as they're published. So, because I reread the chapter 1 and chapter 2, or the sections we were required to read, and my mind kept going back to the current book banning situation and intellectual freedom and everything that's going on right now that is definitely on a lot of the forefront of our minds. For anybody, any librarian, but I always default to public librarians, but also school librarians, academic librarians. Yeah, so thank you, Megan, for that really concise, nice summary of everything that we were reading in week 1. Sorry, these are going to be a little bit behind. Still becoming more comfortable with recording myself. I don't know how people do this on a regular basis, but I will do it on a regular basis. So I'll have something on for you all next Monday. Again, the thing we need to, I think the thing to stay ahead of is the assignments as much as possible, because they all kind of flow into one. Well, some of them flow, well, obviously the collection management project, part 1, part 2, part 3, they all kind of work together. And the nice thing is just you can use aspects from part 1 and part 2 or part 3, so you can, to a certain extent, recycle some of the information that you provided. But yeah, I enjoy going over the collection management policy or collection management project, because I learned so much about all kinds of niche areas that I know nothing about. Trying to think, somebody did one on embroidery, which I've tried to take up but failed. Did one on embroidery, that area of the library collection during the summer, so that was pretty cool to learn. Yeah, so I try to provide as many resources as possible for on Canvas, so general course information, UWM resources. It seems like most of you are either in the middle of the program or nearing the end, so you're probably pretty familiar with being an online student. But if you have any trouble with Canvas, please let me know. This is Emmy Lou, named after Emmylou Harris. So I am here to help you in whatever way I can. So I'll again, remember comparison of collection development policies is going to be due on October 2nd, and I look forward to grading that. And next, week 4 is the selection process, which is always kind of fun. I'm sprinkling in some interviews I've done with different librarians or former librarians from a wide variety of libraries for you to listen or watch throughout these upcoming weeks, just so you get, I think it seems like students really appreciate hearing from people out in the field. So, and I think that is all. Okay, 18 minutes. Trying to keep it under 15, but we'll see. Thank you for going along with me for this rambling journey. Hope you have an excellent evening, morning, whenever you watch this video. Yes, please reach out if you need anything. I am here for you, and I hope you know that. So have a great day. Thank you. Bye.